All right, guys. American Grim 2026. We've been laying a little low for the past month, but now we're back with vengeance. Right, guys? That's right. We're about to drop some truths. So, as you guys know, many of you guys have met us at conventions all over pretty much the East Coast, walking around as aliens. This whole entire time we've been on a mission, and it's been to bring, I guess, more disclosure to the table, right, guys?
That's right.
Exactly.
We want to get a little bit more people talking about this. There's a lot of stories from the past that I think need to be brought back up and looked into a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we're always talking about it. We're always thinking about it. So, it'd be nice if, we could be surrounded with more people who are on the same page. You know what I mean?
Exactly. You know what? Going all the way back to like 2017, we were on the ICP Juggalo Festival in Oklahoma. The Gathering. You got asked to play The Gathering, and I always remember somebody, before I walked on stage, one of the other performers came up to me, and this was like in 2017 on that tour. I was painting myself entirely green, and to be completely honest, like, I wasn't trying to be an alien. Like, I don't know, I think the whole alien thing was just ingrained in our band from the start. And I remember walking up on stage and somebody stopped me that maybe just performed or something, and they were like, "Are you an alien?" And I was like, "Yeah." Like, optic, maybe now. Yeah.
I remember that.
And then we go back to our first album, that's Freak Show.
Alien, I was born.
You look at the album from Freak Show, and when you really look at it, like, what does it look like?
It's an alien. I mean, that's what we all did. That's the only thing that we've all had in common besides music is this. You know what I mean? Like, the only thing that
we've already point.
It's really the only thing we could sit in a room and be like, let's get into this. Even in like early 2018, do you remember when we would be touring? We'd go in the hotel rooms and set up.
It goes way behind, dude. The field across the street from your house, your parents' house. I'm talking high school. We used to just stare out at that field, and you guys used to always talk about seeing, weird lights, like unexplained weird lights. You know what I mean? And I mean, it's a perfect viewing spot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like, we're talking over 20 years ago.
Yeah, I mean, if you had any interest in it and you live across the street from that field, you're gonna look out there.
Yeah, that was a good spot.
Well, so Brandon and I are brothers, and our parents live across from like government-owned like a huge farm field where like nobody could ever build on it, and
it was just like empty.
And it hardly wood. And the sky is like, you could always see it. Like, with my mom alone would like look out the big window in the front of the house, and that the sun at when the sun's coming down, and
it's the only spot in like Hillsboro without lots of light pollution.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like it's this little
government controlled farmland where you can't build on it. So as kids, we were always able to stand out there at the end of the driveway, and it would be like late at night, and we'd be outside and we would just be staring at the sky. And even then, we thought we were seeing things, and I think like now, as like this rock band alien project has been progressing, I don't think anybody that we grew up with that was actually hanging out with us are surprised that we're still freaking talking about aliens.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, like, looking across that,
it's nothing new. Yeah, it is the point. It's nothing new.
Look, it started to get funny when my friends would call me and be like, "Hey, couple of us were riding around, and I think we saw something." Like, why are you calling me? You know what I mean?
Yeah. What I've had happen recently a lot, or at least in the past year, is I've had older friends like hit me up on like social like media and be like, "Dude, like the stuff that you were talking about like 10, 15 years ago, like, whoa, dude, like I finally like people are I don't know, I feel less crazy, which makes me feel less crazy. Do you know what I mean? Because people are finally starting to actually be open to these things and actually, but it just shows that it's nothing new, and like this is in us since early on.
I mean,
it's very long time.
And it finally fully infiltrated our music. It really did. It did that. You know what I mean? It really did.
Well,
it wasn't even on purpose.
Honestly, even going back to like our newest song, Aurora, that just came out. That was my favorite alien story of all time. That I saw and kind of read about this story in around probably 2010. And I was just like so fascinated by this story, just because, you know, it also had a little bit to do with like the production of it, how they did it with like the windmill and you know, with, you know, just the story in general of like this alien cover up.
It's also extremely practical. Like it's very believable, because it's like that's probably exactly how it would have gone down. You know what I mean? Like, so should we do? Yeah, this into the actual story.
When it came to choosing, like, you know, what song do we lead with? So, you know, over the past couple years, like a lot of you guys may know that we've been working on our movie Roswell Remains, and then on the side we've been making an album where we've been tackling a lot of extraterrestrial encounters that happen in America. And it really resonated with us, you know, being the band American Grimm. We've always been into like the paranormal stuff of America, and then, you know, encounters that have happened in America. But I think the extraterrestrial stuff has really stood out. And I feel like there's not a lot of influence right now bringing light to these stories. So our first release was Secrets of Roswell. And that was like a song that basically talked about the Jesse Marcel story, the lieutenant that went to the crash site. And it really went into depth about his family story. So now we wrote a bunch of songs tackling different encounters that happened all over America. And I think like we had to decide which one to start with. And I think when was it? The Aurora crash was in 1897.
Yes. So that's before any Roswell. I mean, this is over 50 years before Roswell.
Before Roswell. So everything that we're about to tell you is before Roswell. And the craziest thing about it is that it sounds like Roswell. Like there's a lot of similarities that happened at Roswell and at this Texas Aurora UFO crash.
Yeah.
So,
but you know what?
Well, it's kind of about that crazier to really think about.
Yes,
because we have to tell the story first. But I mean, the fact that the public had the body first instead of the government is pretty crazy. That is very crazy. You know what I mean? I mean, like the public had what's the word? Possession of the body.
Back then in like 1897, it was too weird of a thing to formally like document, right? Like when the police, but like we're gonna put in this alien. But the other thing is that the guy that that really put it in was this guy named S.E. Hayden. And
all right, well, before we get into that, let's tell the audience how everybody went.
Piano.
So basically, in Aurora in 1897, a judge in the area had a experience where he woke up at like about 6 o'clock in the morning and he found a UFO crash debris on his property, and it took out a bunch of his land. And when he approached this debris, there was a body there, and he knew right away that this thing wasn't human. And so then this led into a huge stir among the town of other people getting involved with like what to do with this alien body. So
it hit the windmill and just totally wrecked it. And I think his exact quote was otherworldly.
Yes.
He was like, dude, it's not like, you know, you just look at it and you know that
it was otherworldly. And that's the exact word that Jesse Marcel, the lieutenant from Roswell, described the alien being. And he said, otherworldly. It wasn't from this world. So that's a similarity right out of the gate.
Right.
That connects Texas, Aurora, and Roswell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, here's the interesting thing, right? You look at 1897, right? But the actual time that this was starting to be documented was 1896, right? And I believe it was called the Chicago Tribune, right? And basically what it is this has been documented in local papers and stuff like that. But the guy S.E. Hayden, that was a journalist, he was the one that kind of brought the story out. So I thought that was kind of interesting that what's his last name? Proctor. That Judge Proctor didn't bring this story, you know? So, because
he was probably scared to lose his credibility as a judge.
Imagine being a judge.
You're the guy who has to be. Was he a judge?
Yes, he has
a literal judge. So it's like, and even back then, you probably had even a higher profile being a judge.
Yeah.
I feel like you would be even more respected then than you would these days. Like being a judge is, it's probably such a crazy.
Yeah, I know social media is like, dude,
I saw aliens. People like, he's not judging my case.
exactly.
You know what I mean? So, I mean, why would you open your mouth? I mean, that's a big,
Yeah.
that's a big statement. I mean,
Well, the other thing was like, basically, there at the time in like 1897, there's like hundreds of people in Aurora, right? Because they have a railroad bypass, so it makes it like, why are we coming here? There's no trade going on. There's no goods, and their crops are all like, they're having a hard time, you know. So there's really no reason to go to Aurora, and so I looked at it like this: could this be a story that, you know, who put this out? Could they be making it up to get some?
so I'm trying to put the
Town on the map.
town on the map.
Exactly, you know. So as I looked into it, I found out that, you know, Judge Proctor, he didn't even break the story. It was a local journalist, S.E. Hayden, that was like just doing local stories, you know. So he wasn't known either for like, you know, putting together these, you know, fabricated stories. So I already thought that was like kind of weird in itself, you know.
Well, also that skeptics that want to debunk this encounter all will go back to that idea that, you know, they wanted to bring more people to the town. But at that time in 1897, it was a Christian town and everybody was religious. Who's going to the demon tavern, right? Like if they don't know what this thing is. An alien is a demon, like it's a monster, it's a creature. You know what I'm saying? So how is that thing being buried in a graveyard going to bring money to the town?
They also get all the whole stories. So after the crash, the body was actually recovered and it was locally buried at like a church cemetery. Like it was actually buried at a local cemetery, and it was a Christian burial.
Christian burial.
Yeah.
This is a site where a flying saucer supposedly crashed back in 1897, one April night of that year. It's here on the farm of Brawley Oats in Aurora, Texas, in Wise County, just north of Fort Worth. Members of the International UFO Bureau out of Oklahoma City, a group of citizens that investigate unidentified flying objects, are here in Aurora today, and they're trying to locate bits of metal that supposedly fell from the flying saucer when it crashed into a windmill that used to be here, and a well. The well has since been covered up.
I would say that, in all honesty, the evidence has accumulated until now. There's no doubt in my mind that the story is authentic and that there is something here. We will be in touch with Bureau attorneys in an attempt to find out all the legal technicalities to obtain a court order to actually do some digging to see if there is an occupant in the grave.
Hughes says he expects some legal problems in trying to dig up a grave in Aurora Cemetery. Meanwhile, they plan to examine some mysterious metals found near the crash site. He says he doesn't know who the visitors from outer space are, but he feels they are on a peaceful mission.
I mean,
Interesting is that MUFON did go and investigate.
yes.
And actually, the first time they went to investigate, they brought a metal detector and they found lots of metal below the surface because they were supposed to bury basically the crash remains, some of them with the alien body.
Right.
So they asked the town, can we go investigate this? Like our metal detector's going off, and a lot of other people were also in the 70s going to the court saying, like, we should investigate this. This is a really important story. And what happened was when they came back to investigate, basically the town told them no. They came back later, and then the metal detector didn't go off the second time. They also had to remove.
Whereas they think people, like, you know, in the middle of the night, somebody, whether it's government related where they pulled it out or just some type of grave digger.
And the other,
Like what they say, the grave was disturbed.
right. The other big thing is that this wasn't all out of nowhere. Like there was like up to 2 months prior, there was actually sightings reported almost all over the country. They were mainly focused in Texas, but they were almost like, if you actually look at like the papers across the entire country, there were a lot of weird, unexplained things happening in the skies leading up to this. Yeah, and sure, we had I think it's like higher balloons, but like, I mean, the Wright brothers, I don't think invented the airplane till like early 1900s.
There's nothing as
So,
that.
you know, a couple higher balloons, but those don't move around.
I mean, so I feel like when people are trained to, when people are sitting on something that's out of this world, they know you can they were seeing them, Shen, And like that's kind of like what I was saying before. Like I think it was one of like the Sacramento papers in like 1896 that was talking, like, you know, explaining that what they were seeing in the sky, and it was a cigar-shaped object, right? And now I'm not sure, was it a cigar-shaped object? Yeah, it hit the window.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, but what's interesting about that is, you know, single about Kenneth Arnold and Roswell, like all the other UFOs are these discs in the sky, these flying saucers.
Tradition.
And also, like, even just going like all the way up to more recently Bob Lazar, like the forms of propulsion, like you don't see those on the outside of the saucers. Aurora's really unique in this aspect, where it's like this cigar-shaped object with a propeller, they said.
It's almost like the earliest sighting of a cigar, because I mean that still happens. Like that's always, we always hear about a cigar-shaped object. Oh, that's always in there.
Yeah, and my like theory on this whole thing of these like early UFOs crashing, because like you don't hear about these UFOs like crashing anymore, but like I believe that like this extraterrestrial technology was still being figured out by these extraterrestrials. Like they're definitely ahead of us 100%, but that doesn't mean that they have it all figured out. You know what I mean?
Like maybe they're like, yo, let's try to go to planet Earth.
Yeah.
And it didn't quite work out.
Some of them went,
and they were like, all right, we'll try it again in a couple of years. And they did.
just like us and Dodger about this escape. How many spaceships did we blow up trying to just get into orbit? We're not even doing that. You know?
We don't even know what's real. There's no problem right now. But the other thing is this, I mean, it's true. You know what I mean? It's like when you think about everybody reporting from we're now in 2026. Okay? People have been reporting this since 1896.
Boy, so before that,
Andy, you know that
talking about it.
ancient times. You know, when you go back, I mean,
They didn't on this, man. This shit's been going on since the beginning.
So I think if there was any time for everyone to kind of open their eyes up a little bit and be a little bit more accepting, to be like, hey, maybe there is something else out there. I mean, the time is now, right?
Exactly. And like the biggest thing about this story in Texas is that, like what Mike said, is that people were seeing these objects in the sky before the crash. So like when these historians went to go debunk what happened in Aurora, they also saw all these other news articles in the paper talking about people seeing stuff in the sky.
Almost like the Jersey drones when we were seeing them for like 2 months and then one crashed in Hillsborough. Yeah, it was mad, but it was like okay because we were seeing them in the sky already. So it was like okay, and then everyone just like moved on.
Yeah, it came out of nowhere, bro.
That's the most irrelevant thing I could possibly connect that we have experienced that is like very similar. Like we were like, what the hell are these fucking drones in the sky?
Yeah.
And then one apparently crashed in our town off of the highway and it got all covered up and shit. Yeah, it's like, so, I mean, that's kind of the same thing present day. It's like the same kind of thing, you know? So it shows how even back then, how you can be desensitized, just getting used to seeing things in the air, and then it crashes and you're like,
you know what I like?
Back then there wasn't things in the air. That's the one thing.
but that's what they were saying is
They were seeing in the air, but they weren't supposed to be seeing it.
it was underground.
Exactly.
But I mean, think about now, like, right? Like you can still fool somebody today, but like I think in 1896, you can really fool somebody. You know what I mean? You like, listen, here's what it is. You know what I mean? Like you can really easily,
Like the War of the Worlds thing. Yeah, the radio broadcast and rolling ape shit.
you know? So it's like, I think as like we've evolved, I think that we can like handle truth a little bit more, but I also think that we're smarter. And I think back then you could just be like, hey, it was a balloon, and people were like, okay, I'm gonna go back inside, you know. But now I think that there's so much undeniable, you know, truth out there, and I think that it's coming out every day, and stories like this just need to be like uncovered again and looked at, you know.
It would be the logical thing to do is to, well, let's clean up the mess, let's bury the thing and go on about our business. Not even realizing the value or the importance scientifically to the find that they had.
There's also like just more news sources. Like back then, it's just like the paper. Like that's all you have to go off of.
Yeah.
Now you have videos and you like it's social media and just like all these other news sources.
Fake news. Honestly, here's what I was looking into. I was like, I want to see if there's any police reports on this. There's not one report. The only report on this is what's in the newspaper. That's it.
Well, but also what was documented in the paper was some from the Army the signal off.
Right. So I guess that was,
So whatever they just like,
That's just a statement from the government. Like, that's a story that they're gonna make up to tell the public. I mean, exactly.
yeah, but that story said that it was unearthly.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
The OG story. Even the army official, I forgot his name, but the army official apparently in the document said it was specifically from Mars.
The pilot of the ship is supposed to have been the only one on board, and while his remains are badly disfigured, enough of the original has been picked up to show that he was not an inhabitant of this world. Mr. T.J. Weems, the U.S. Signal Service officer at this place and an authority on astronomy, gives it his opinion that he was a native of the planet Mars. Papers found on his person, evidently the records of his travels, are written in some unknown hieroglyphics and cannot be deciphered. This ship is too badly wrecked to form any conclusion as to its construction or motive power. It was built of an unknown metal, resembling somewhat a mixture of aluminum and silver, and it must have weighed several tons. The town today is full of people who are viewing the wreckage, gathering specimens of the strange metal from the debris. The pilot's funeral will take place at noon tomorrow. Signed, E.E. Hayden.
She named a planet. They actually had like a specific planet in mind.
So you have, this isn't just like, you know, the neighbors all talking about a Martian. This is about an army guy, a guy employed by the United States Army, documenting that this thing was from Mars. And at that time, it's just like, this is what it is. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
At that time, they literally only had like fictional, like authors and like illustrators who like drew like weird pictures. Like, is this what sci-fi? Like, sci-fi in general was only becoming a thing in pop culture. Like, today it's just normal. Like, you know, sci-fi isn't everything. It's just like integrated into entertainment. But this is what it's almost being like created. Like the whole the aspect of like science fiction,
right.
is like it's being like, it was like almost like it was being started back then. Like there were authors writing, you know, stories about, you know, Mars and aliens and Martians, but they were called Martians at first. That's what they were called. They were from Mars. People from Mars. She just like, I would call like, yo, people from Asia, Asians. Yeah.
right. But yeah, think about this. This is Mars, real oceans grabbed me
Earthians.
years ago when I saw this story. First of all, I was so fascinated by aliens, and I thought I filmed something on a camera years ago, and I was convinced, and it was across the field, so I was like getting really interested in it. But they said on the show I was watching, and people attended the funeral, and I was thinking, yo, where are these people? You know what I mean? Like, there was people, they said, that were at the funeral watching an alien being buried. Like, where did that story go? Where didn't that trickle down? Like, where's the grandchildren? You know, like,
And it was that, I'm sure that the grandchildren did come out, but you have to remember that this was a judge, okay, that was very connected in the town. So when this story came out, that the judge that everybody appreciates and knows and respects is having this situation on his property, right? Everybody in the town that respects that judge came to help him, whatever the case was. Yeah, you know what I mean? So that's what happened, is that this judge, you know, wound up like having all these people come to his property. And there's even stories where the body, this extraterrestrial creature, wasn't dead. It was just badly injured. And some people say that they tried to nurse this thing and they hid the creature in the barn. Kind of like, it almost reminded me of like E.T. or something completely like, you know what I mean? Like, I think E.T. pulled from this.
Absolutely. Spielberg did.
And so
this big and the new one is,
dude, well, you know what? Like,
that will be right.
that kind of makes sense, right? Because think about this. If I do remember that ET part, right? Like, if this guy saw this crashed vehicle, whoever was there, he was like, come outside, we got to go see what that is. And there it is.
Basically, you have this creature that's barely alive. You don't really know what you're looking at. You don't know what an alien is. You don't know what, you're just like, something's in front of me, it's her. You know what I mean? And I'm a religious man. I'm going to try to save it.
Yeah.
So you have these people that are trying to save this dying creature. You have no idea what's going on. And then this thing dies in a barn. And there's a select few of people who's like, okay, what do we do? Well, we're Christians. Yeah, but we're going to bury this thing. And then what are we going to do?
Well, they probably still thought God created it. You know, this is one of God's creations.
I mean,
just
if your whole life revolves around taking care of your property, taking care of your props, and now you have this creature that's like dying in front of you, this is a sign from God. Who knows what this thing is? But the right thing to do is to give it that Christian burial. And then what followed after this Christian burial was a town meeting where people that weren't involved directly with seeing this thing were involved in a town meeting being like, what the heck is going on? Where all these people came together. And that's what's weird, is that would there be a town meeting if something didn't crash?
I don't think so. You know what I mean? Like,
this is also a very different time. This is when towns were very closely knitted. This is when like town meetings were super like normal. And you would actually gather as a town. Like, that's how you. When the hell at Hillsborough, we all got together, but like, hey, because for Hillsborough, we just stand up for the. It's like we just. That's not how life is anymore.
But my point is, he's like, could there be?
It doesn't even matter, dude.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that.
Yeah.
Could you have this much support if something didn't happen? That's what I'm saying. Like, right. You know what I mean? That like, yeah. What's the goal of that town meeting if nothing happened? Like, well, something crashed, in my opinion.
Yeah, it had to be addressed.
Yeah, I think it had to be addressed, but I also think, like, you know, if you live in the same area for a long time and there's 200 people in the town, you're going to know everybody. You know what I mean? So it's like, I think that, you know, they absolutely had a meeting about that, because you have to think, you know, everybody that's been around that area, like, how did they get there? Their families probably came from that area, especially in that time period, you know? So it's like everybody kind of knows each other and born and raised. That kind of story is like, hey, what happened to your property? You know what I mean? And so it's like, I can't even imagine how he would tell the story, you know, back then to the people that had no idea about any kind of extraterrestrial stories besides just calling it a Martian. You know, tell it.
It must have been like really devastating for his property too, because in such a small town, like your windmill, your well, your water tank, that's a big deal. And
it's your library.
And one of the biggest stories is like that they threw like all of the crash material at the unknown metal. They said kind of like Roswell.
Well, if you threw it down the well,
they threw it down the well. No, but that was the thing. They couldn't drink the water. So basically, actually, something interesting is that the man who eventually bought Proctor's land, I think his name was Oakes, he took all of the metal out of the well, as they say, used it for drinking, and then he got terrible arthritis and always avoiding the well. Right. And so they actually did tests on the well later on. It was crazy when they had like chemical tests. Actually, it was all they found was high levels of alumina.
Most of the smashed ship was carted off as souvenirs, and at least one metal chunk was buried with the pilot. But a few pieces were tossed down a well near the crash. That might account for the grotesque ailment suffered by Bonnie Oates' husband, Brawley, who later died. And what did he blame that on?
Radiation that got into the well water where the crash occurred in 1897.
Bonnie, what did your husband believe?
Well, he thought there's something somewhere, he didn't know what.
So, a couple things that weirded me out with this whole thing is that pieces of the debris were 100% buried at the grave because they were able to test for it with metal detectors.
So why would they do that? What was it? Is there
because it was like a not a souvenir, but it's like this creature
like
died with
it is what came.
We're gonna put a piece there in that with him. You know what I mean?
That seems like something that they would do.
And the rest of that debris that wasn't buried with the creature was thrown down the well. So eventually the judge died and the land was sold. So some guy just comes in and I have no idea what happened. Bought of the land. You'll buy this, you know? Whether he fully believed the story or not, who knows? You know what I mean? But the truth is that that well was contaminated by whatever type of metal was thrown down the well.
Dude, if you put any type of metal in a well, it's gonna. But like that's the water, you know. You can't have rusty metal chilling in water, so that's no good. I first saw this story.
But hold on, Brendan, real quick. But maybe, I don't know, I'm not a scientist, right? But if you threw rusty metal down a well, right, just normal rusty metal down the well, would that give you radiation poisoning? No. Well, and that's what this man suffered from. Oh. The man, the photos we'll put right here, they were completely disturbing. It's like the most disturbing photos you've ever seen of radiation poisoning. Yeah. And it's from this man drinking the water from the well, and the metal contaminated with radiation poisoning. And the doctor,
he thinks he's like tapping into this pure source underneath his beauty. And
I never seen his arms are blown. It's crazy.
It's the craziest thing you've ever seen.
Oh, because it's otherworldly. He probably got infected with something that's not, and some sort that doesn't even exist here.
Back to this, why hide that near well? I mean, was it because he felt embarrassed because he was...
What do you do with it, man?
Yeah. I mean, probably not throw it in your drinking water. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't that sound kind of... I mean, it is weird. You know what I mean? Like, that's probably the place where I wouldn't put it.
Yeah, probably. But you gotta think, it's 1897. You don't know anything about science. Yeah. You're just like, where do I throw it down the well?
What do you got there, Bonnie? What is that?
Oh, that's...
Bonnie saved some of the metal that she is convinced caused her husband's illness. Aerospace engineer John Schuessler recovered a sample back in 1973. He found the metal melted and resolidified around the limestone at the crash site.
It fits the contention that it came from an explosion where it was molten and was blown out and landed on limestone rock and contoured to the rock and resolidified. And that all fits with the story.
We always talk about extraterrestrial crafts giving off radiation. There's so many UFO encounters of people getting too close to these crafts that they get radiation poisoning. Yeah. And you have a prime example right here of somebody, this whole thing happening where somebody getting poisoned by what was thrown down that well, and doctors said that it was radiation poisoning, and it had all signs of radiation poisoning. Some of his joints all being inflamed and I don't even know, like huge boils all over him. Like everything.
I'm right, blown up. That's just what he did. But the thing is that it's gotta. No, I don't know what else would do that to you. As far as like you throwing that down a well.
Yes, and the other thing is that family members. All that were connected to that man that bought the property, all were so disturbed that they lived the rest of their lives being like, he died from the UFO crash, right? That was thrown down the west. Seems practical.
Area 51 veterans chosen by the government for top secret work have something in common other than their service. Some now saying they're getting sick with serious health issues, tumors, and cancer. Decades ago, these men were hand-picked, and today they still can't talk about their missions in the desert. But as they get sicker, the vets tell me the Department of Defense still will not acknowledge their service on that range, keeping them classified and unable to get the critical benefits and care they need.
A group of Air Force veterans and a DoD contractor say they have been sickened, even disfigured, after being stationed in the desert in the mid-'80s to early 90s.
Did you have any idea what you were being exposed to?
None.
So it's not just like a story anymore. Now you have family members who are like, no, my family member died from this incident. He was poisoned by whatever crashed there. The other thing too is that scientists took pieces of rock and stuff that over the years around the well and around the area, pieces of the crack of the metal were found in the limestone. And they tested it, and it was a type of aluminum that wasn't even invented in the time. So it means that the crafts that were coming here and whatever crashed there, whether you want to believe it's a spacecraft or not, it was made out of some type of futuristic aluminum that wasn't even invented at the time.
Right.
So that's what's weird, is that whatever crashed there was made out of a foreign aluminum that we didn't even have.
Yeah. Well, think about this. Look how in depth we can go with this story here, right? It's like, this is why we're doing this, because this is a story that has so much behind it that a lot of people don't know about, So even us talking about.
Yeah, I mean, the average person hasn't even heard of this story.
The average person would hear Roswell, But when you go back to stories of the before, this is the OG. This is the OG.
Yeah, and we talk about the Roswell UFO.
At least in America,
And when we think of Roswell, we think of small, childlike beings with almond-shaped eyes. Like, that's like the Roswell Gray. That's what they've all been described. And even to this point, like, people that have had these extraterrestrial abductions, they say that they've been abducted by these small 3 to 4 foot tall, almond-shaped eyes, big heads, grays. And the creature that was described by the Aurora folks that lived in Aurora in 1897 all described the same type of being. This childlike small being.
Yeah, it's got to do with whatever they send out to like travel. You know what I mean? Like whoever these beings are, like that must be their form for like traveling. They're like, all right, like the Greys are gonna, you know, go out and like look for stuff. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like that might be like for
the mission of the good.
They're species, obviously, but I think the Greys are they like travel, like are the ones who like fly spaceships.
They didn't think it. They're like the workers.
Yeah, they're like, all right, you know, like
yeah.
So like, on. Just, I mean, you guys, we brought it up like E.T. Who else was completely scarred and freaked out when he's like white and he's sick and he's like. That scared the shit out of me as a child. Are we all the same things?
We all lately.
Like, I mean, it was all like a kid's movie up until that point. And it was like, whoa, like, what am I watching? It like really scared you.
Why is they walking with all the hazmat?
It was like,
I remember that freaking you out. That's
one more movie. Who remembers Mac and Me? Because apparently that's supposed to be way more true than we think.
You remember that? I remember that movie. They go, ooh. What is it? That bloody hearted alien.
Yeah. Yeah, but they're weird as hell and they drink Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie?
Yeah, it kind of looked like E.T.
Dude, no. There's apparently there's a crazy rabbit hole about that movie. Yeah, that's the beginning of like Hollywood, like being like, all right, guys, like I need to check this out.
Well, a lot of ufologists believe that the CIA were planting these like friendly alien movies into the public to get us to not be scared of these aliens. You know what I mean? So like that was like a plant thing, like a thing that the CIA was trying to do to get us like used to the idea. Because let's say,
who was the team? There was a team of people. There was a team of people who were
Majestic Frog.
Yeah, to handle disclosure.
Yeah,
and that was probably a part of the whole fighting thing.
So
who's my vote? No, man, no, dude. I'm sorry.
I was gonna say that
they were usually right, but it's me who screws them up. It's usually really honest shit. Yeah, and I'll come on.
They were trying to get people used to the idea that that all aliens aren't scary, because if the government at any time could be forced to do disclosure, to give disclosure, and if every movie that comes out to the public that is about scary aliens, we're all going to be terrified. But if they can warm us up to the idea that extraterrestrials aren't all bad, then the idea of disclosure isn't so scary.
Right. Well, I mean, I think Steven Spielberg is about to spill the beans this year, so yeah, we'll see.
I mean, the thing is this, if
anybody knows he
goes exactly what you're saying with like, we don't want everyone to think, I mean, they haven't really done that great of a job with that as far as movies go. Most alien movies are somewhat like scary or terrifying. They haven't done like a peaceful.
Well, here they have. What is in?
Tea. I guess he's a lunch.
Yeah.
That way. The originals were kind of the more peaceful ones, actually. It's more like modern.
Species.
Dude, Spielberg is on a mission right now.
Yeah.
Like, that guy right now, like, that's not just him making things up.
Yeah, but it's Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, but he's super connected.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
is this even Steven Spielberg, or is this like...
No, it's not.
It's not.
Okay, cool. Steven Spielberg, he's just he's the guy, he's the movie owner, but he bought the rights to Dr. Alan Hynek's book, and Dr. Alan Hynek was like connected to all of the government top files, right? Like Project Blue Book.
He sounds German.
The Robertson panel. Everything in like 1952, 1953, when the UFOs went over the White House, Dr. Alan Hynek was like the guy on the case.
what was really interesting about Dr. Hynek too is he was like initially hired to sort of be like the debunking scientist. Right. So originally they hired him to be like, oh no, what you're seeing is just Venus, what you're seeing is just differences in air pressure. He was actually, I was actually having a good time debunking all these theories, but actually what changed his mind was going to Aurora and interviewing all the witnesses. And they said that after Hynek went to Aurora and interviewed all the witnesses, he completely did a 180 flip. He changed his vision. He actually started, what was it, kudos? Like he started a new organization to actually do the opposite instead of debunking. He started more organization to actually research.
Oh, well, yeah. So I believe that what happened was Dr. Alan Hynek partnered with Steven Spielberg as his revenge to get the truth out to the public because the government wasn't telling us. So what happened was Spielberg bought the rights to like all of his information and made Close Encounters of the Third Kind. Right. And then that movie came out and it was like, whoa, everybody was like taken away by this extraterrestrial movie. And now Spielberg is still sitting on all of this information that like, and he's getting older. So it's like, I need to let this out. So that, but Disclosure, I think the movie's like Disclosure Day or something.
Really, it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's done well.
Yeah. And the other thing that's crazy is that when Close Encounters of the Third Kind was done and ready to come out, you know, because Spielberg worked with Dr. Alan Hynek, he figured, you know, I'm working with your guy, like NASA, like, will you guys help me get behind this movie, right? Like, we're working with your guy. Yeah. And NASA was like, what you're doing is extremely dangerous, and we're not getting involved with this at all. They're like, I'm backing out of this. So all the information that Dr. Alan Hynek had, he passed on to Spielberg. Spielberg went to NASA and, you know, was like, hey, like, help me promote this movie since like I'm using your employee. Yeah. And they were like, hell no. Like, this information can't get out. And for you guys to be putting this out right now is like, we want no part of this. And that's why I think it was his revenge, like Hynek's revenge to like get this information out and to work with the movie, you know, directed it. You know what I'm saying? So that's why it's real important that we do see this new Spielberg movie, because it's like, he's not just some guy like that just wants to make an alien movie.
Oh, dude, there's gonna be so much information in that movie.
There is no association with Steven Spielberg. He does not understand that we're doing this podcast. Yeah. We are not promoting him in any way.
So wrapping around back to Aurora, one of the things that stood out to me too was a lot of the children that were in the area of the time, like when they grew old and now they're in their 80s, a lot of these people before they passed away came out and said, my parents visited the crash site themselves and helped Proctor nurse the bodies. And so a lot of the information that we know about Aurora also came out.
Like the kid, like
kids that were like, you know, taking children's also, and you know what I mean?
Wow.
But then there was Charlie C. Stevens. He was 83 in 1973. He told me he had always declined to talk to reporters about the crash because he didn't want to get involved. And finally, after some neighborly conversation, Charlie loosened up and gave this account. As a young boy less than 10 years old, he was with his father putting some cattle out to pasture on the morning of April the 19th, 1897, when the pair saw a cigar-shaped object with a bright light pass overhead. The craft was very low and moved straight ahead toward Aurora, which was about 3 miles to the north. The pair then heard what seemed to be an explosion, and a fire lit up the northern sky for several minutes. I wanted to go immediately and see what had happened, Charlie recalled, but my daddy said we had to finish the chores.
Well, Charlie's been known to be a pretty much a man of his word. You know, hasn't been considered to be a prankster or hoaxer or anything like that. So,
if Stevens was concocting a story, it seemed more likely he would have said that he and his father raced to the scene and given a grand account of the damage. Instead, Stevens said his father rode a horse into town the next day. Returning to the family farm, he described a mass of torn metal and burned rubble. He made no mention of the pilot. According to the contemporary accounts, the pilot was buried the same day as the crash. So when Stevens' father was in town, there was no body to view. He declined to talk about anything he had not personally seen.
Mainly when like I would like kind of dig deeper into the Aurora story, it's because it's from 1897. It's so long ago that when you're looking for like official documents, it's kind of hard to find. So it all really does come down to like the stories that were being told.
There was just some news and paper articles, which were also, but it was like deep in the paper. Like I think of that week or day, it's like multiple pages in. It's certainly not headlining news like it probably should have been. It's like in the paper.
It was buried on page 5.
Yeah, it's like after how do you like local news and then after local news.
Now here's what you got to think about, and I think about this when it comes to some of the news networks today. What story could possibly be bigger than that? None. Okay, so like this is a dream come true for like a media outlet. This is like, we have the story, get that on front, we can rock with this for 6 months. That's crazy. Brendan. See that?
So why was it buried on page?
You see that? Yeah.
What?
Right.
Why were it buried in the middle too? Not even at the top, because
it was the front of it were other articles about sightings, and then there was like, oh, and one actually crashed, but then there's also, it's like, wait, excuse me, and one crashed in Aurora, Texas, but it's only if you're actually like reading and you pay it. It's like, but it's like hidden in the paper.
Yeah, this is like how I kind of like look at it, right? Just because a cigar-shaped UFO came and crashed into this windmill on this random judge's property, this doesn't mean like all of a sudden that he becomes this guy that's gonna lie and hide stuff, right? Like he's a religious person, so for him, no matter what, I'm sure he had no control of, putting, what's going on with this story. But I feel like for it to be on page 5, if they had anything to do with it, it's just like, I just don't want to like completely lie to the people. It's in there, but we can't put it on.
It was documented, but it wasn't headline.
Like we can't put it on the headline page, but we got to put it in there somewhere because we can't lie to our people, right?
The Aurora story was not an isolated incident. The microfilmed editions of area newspapers of the period were filled with various accounts of flying objects and even contacts with their crews.
It's like, I feel like it's like, I feel a little bit better about like, we did tell them, but it'll kind of hit it.
Do you know if there was any type of like retraction? Like did they ever like change their mind, like in Roswell, how the story got switched up, like, actually it was a weather balloon.
Like, yeah, they're using lights that have with like a rare
Or no.
No, kind of just go. They didn't really retract anything, right?
It did, I think, because it was just such a small town, that it was a story that just got washed away.
Yeah, I mean, it was just exactly. I mean, it was just the timing that it was. It was 1897. It's like, what are you gonna do about it? You know what I mean? Like, hey, if
there's anybody watching here from Aurora, Texas, or the like surrounding towns, if there's any folklore or any local stories, please just like let us know them, or like any, just anything that you guys talk about, or just run it by us, because we would love to hear anything from like true locals. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's the Aurora story fascinates me so much because there's so much, information that wasn't documented. Like that's one of the things that really interests me a lot, because when you go back to the story, even going back to some of the locals and the grandchildren and stuff, stories get fabricated so easily, but it's just one of those kind of interesting, fun stories that it's like, what really happened here?
Big one.
And where could you actually be fishy?
It's in a way the start of all the American. I mean, people act like Roswell is ground zero, but really it's Aurora, right?
Yeah, it's Aurora, and then Kenneth Arnold, and then Roswell, but Aurora's often forgotten about.
This Aurora story became the reason why people to today visit Aurora, Texas. When you type in Aurora, Texas, this is what shows up. And again, this of course will lead many people that are skeptics to believe that's the reason why they did this. People that don't want to believe in extraterrestrials, they're gonna say this was thing ran to get people to come into town during desperate times. But truthfully, I don't believe a judge at that time would ruin his reputation.
I don't think that's like the last thing he would be looking for, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think that a religious town would want to embrace, in my opinion, a demon. You have to remember that people that are religious, they don't believe in aliens. Right. They believe in Jesus. And why would you put out a story that would make people believe that your town is somewhat like possessed or there's demons coming here? This is not the right look. This is not something to bring value to the town.
A very interesting point.
In modern age, yeah, of course. Just like people will go visit the Loch Ness Monster and stuff like that and looking for Bigfoot. Now it's a money trap. But back in 1897, that wasn't a money thing to say we had demons from outer space coming to our land.
No thing coming.
Who's going there?
Yeah, no one. Well, here's the other thing that's pretty great. You don't really hear that many lies being like, it was this big diamond UFO where it was like, oh, you lied. Like, he said a cigar shape, and if you look, there's thousands and thousands of cases of this cigar shape. So he just like, if he was both nailed, it's like you nailed it.
You did when they had it.
You know?
Yeah. Even 100 years later, it still holds all different.
Yeah.
And it's still viable. It's the same shit that people are seeing today.
Yeah.
All right.
So
we have a lot to talk about. So
that's the thing, is that like we're still seeing these cigar shapes. We're still seeing these crafts. Like everything still holds true. Like that's what makes this UFOs and aliens the most interesting paranormal thing to really discuss, is that it's all related. Like you could look at 1897 and analyze it, and then go to 1947, analyze the Roswell crash, and find the similarities. When other type of things like ghosts and other paranormal things, they are all different unconnected stories, but everything when it comes to extraterrestrials is all connected. And that's why people that do believe are such strong believers, and it's why they get so invested, because it turns into a big puzzle, you know. And in order to figure the puzzle out, you have to know the history. And that's what we're trying to do here, is we're trying to put the puzzle together. We're trying to tell the history. And when you see these modern day UFO hearings, they're telling us things that we already know. You know, when you see a David Grush come out and he's talking about, you know, reverse engineering technology and what these creatures look like.
Yeah, if you watch the History Channel at all the past 20 years, it's been all over there. You know, it's almost like common knowledge at this point, but the fact it's being spoken at a UFO hearing is just like,
yeah. And the scariest thing about the UFO hearings in modern day is it's all stuff that we already know. Anybody that's been following the topic knows all of this already. Almost to the point that we could get up there and say the exact same thing word for word, because this is everything that we've been told, which makes you believe this is all true. So I think for all of our new followers, like, we really appreciate you guys tuning in. And we're going to continue to tackle the topic. Like, this is becoming a mission for our rock band. And we're going to continue to be making music to influence the topic and get in new people that maybe weren't involved in, you know, extraterrestrials and aliens. Maybe people that didn't believe it. Maybe we can make you believe through all the stuff that we're doing right now. You know,
even going through all these stories, all these buried stories that nobody ever knew about. It's important to bring these back up and take a look at them and kind of open us a minute.
Because these are real things. These are real things that actually changed people's lives, changed people's lineage, changed people's you know, generations of their family. Like, it's not just stories. You know what I mean?
So we can't sit here and let these stories be buried anymore. We got to talk about it. So you guys check out the story in 1897, Aurora, Texas.
Yeah, chisel crash. Google Aurora, Texas. Most likely the first thing, you know what I mean? It'll be all information about it.
Gotcha. And then also check out our new music video, Aurora. It's on YouTube. And for people that listen to Spotify, you could also stream our song Aurora on Spotify, and you'll start to see more of our catalog that's tackling different encounters that have happened all over America. So guys, any last words?
Keep finding out the truth. They're burying it.
They're burying it.
Keep researching, guys. Learn about the past, because everything is very consistent, and I think it's coming to light pretty soon.
All right, guys, we'll see you soon. American Grim signing off. Peace.